Can I ask for a more practical demonstration of how we would institute this SMART acronym in making sure that we're achieving our goals? If I can use the example of somebody who is a failure at Spanish or math, for argument's sake, and that person wants to move from an E student, so you're always failing, EDE, right? And you want to, what's the next step? Do they look now at jumping to become an A student?
No.
Or do they work themselves up first
I think
to being C?
that's where the evaluation
comes in.
You have to ask yourself, why? What are the things I did not do that made me? Because other people probably were A, some were Bs. Look at myself, look at my study habits. Look at my response to quizzes and did I prepare well? Look at, or it is that there are some people who have talents that are more pronounced than others. Did I spend enough time, or I find it so difficult? But I still want to learn it because what I want to become, being at least bilingual, would help me. So you say, now, what are the things that I could do? Well, you have to research that. You have to ask persons, speak with your Spanish teachers, let us say it was Spanish, find out what it is that could help you. And as you listen, then you're going to incorporate what you see is possible. And it is not everything you were meant to become. Why is it that you're set on wanting to do this? Just for the sake of knowing another language? Or is it integral to what you want to become and what you want to achieve? So when you talk about being specific, it doesn't mean only academically. It means in every aspect of your life. So, but just be very, when I say specific, it is that let's say it is weight. You wanted to do something about your weight. Let us say that I would like to put on 10 pounds.
That's right.
In the first. I would like to gain 10 pounds by June 30th. Okay, that's specific. It is time-based, it is specific, it is attainable. You know, all of those, it would meet those criteria by June 30th, okay? So I'm going to sit down. What it is that I need to do? What are the things I need to do? It may mean you look at your diet. You may need somebody to help you to determine that because you need to be healthy and you might need some help. Okay, you may need, let us say you probably want to have an exercise program, but you find out that more people who have somebody that can make them accountable is a good person to have. So you might choose Hope. Hope, I want you to let us do this because at least you have somebody that can help you to do it. Then you may say something else, whatever you think. And I don't want us to have the discussion based on just like academics and career. Every aspect of your life, you need to set some goals and that you have a holistic development. Mathematics. I just found myself with a wrong friend who did not like mathematics. I could pass mathematics. I couldn't be a mathematician, but I could pass mathematics. And so that drive to make me at least even get a pass just went because misery likes company, you know? So we were there. And I can tell you from the day I left class till the day I left the exam room, I did not take up a book to say that I was going. So if I got an E, you have not. But you understand what I'm saying? I need to look at myself. That's why I say this assessment needs to be made. It is not that you can't manage. We're talking about when you say that person puts in the effort, but still gets an E. The other thing is that Spanish was one of my subjects that I did sixth form and part of my university education. But I was very afraid to speak the language. And so I was getting better grades in, you did literature and you did all that kind of stuff. I was getting better grades. And one day my teacher says to me, he says, go and I was at a boarding school. He says, go in the orange, you know the place, like, go down in where the orange trees are. Take your thing, read aloud. And he said, stand up before your mirror and read aloud. In other words, he diagnosed where my weakness was. I didn't see it. But by doing that, it did make a difference. So sometimes it is that you fail because you don't recognize what would help you to be successful. Sometimes you know what it takes, you didn't do it. So it may mean that you are going to reorganize your thinking and the time spent on something. Or you might just get new knowledge, which helps you to determine what will make you successful. So there are a number of things at play which will vary from person to person, in order to make that turnaround.
I believe as well too, our mindset influences our actions. So I believe maintaining a positive mindset helps to propel my action, because whenever I'm having a challenge with a subject, right, you first have to tell yourself that you can do it. And based on that, it propels your action, right? And as I said before, give yourself time. If you're at E right now, it means in terms of tracking your progress, you will say, all right, at the end of this term, I want to get a C. That is realistic. You're at E right now. But if you're going to say, all right, the end of this term, I'm not saying it's not possible, I want to get a A.
It's
right?
possible, Hope.
Yes,
Because
it's
if I
possible.
didn't put in the effort,
Right.
it is possible because I just didn't spend the time to do it.
Right.
But if I apply myself, I could.
And that is where the assessment comes in. You assess the situation. Is it something that you had control over and did make use of it, right? And based on that, now you see where you are and what you can achieve within a specific time.
I want to take you ladies up on 2 points: effort and honesty. I am putting in the effort. I am studying. I'm in my book for 5 hours. I am listening to some music while I'm studying. And I mean, I'm studying very hard. 1 hour at a time
Michelle.
and whatever. And then I'm still not getting it.
No, Michelle. So when you assess yourself, the method that you're using may not be working.
So honesty plays a part. So you have
I
to be
don't
honest with
honesty,
yourself.
Information.
But you have to
Because
be
may
honest with
think-
yourself, because
No, but you see, you
if
may
it
not
is-
know. You may not know that this is not the best way to do. For example, I have known of students who say they can't do mathematics, and all they depend on is classwork. They never go to practice. Okay? Practice, you need to practice. Okay? You can't be you want to play football and be a successful footballer, and you say you're going to watch more matches. You have to get involved. You understand? So, in other words, you have to understand when the methodology that you have chosen, as Hope calls them, the objectives that you have chosen, the actions that you have chosen, are not working. They're not going to achieve what you want to, because you're spending 5 hours there on this thing, but you're not seeing the results.
What's the efficacy?
You understand? So you have to say to yourself now, listen, I need to go talk to somebody about this thing, because your study style may not support your improvement in that particular area. So somebody else can share with you. Maybe you probably want to incorporate somebody who you will work with, who you can work with. There are so many other variables that you can look at. You can't depend on self alone, because you just may be doing it wrong. So when you look at time, when the thing is in a timely way, from you begin to see that, you know that you're not going to achieve it at the date set. So one thing that you can do is either you're going to extend the time, it's going to take longer than you think, and also I'm going to seek some help in terms of how can I make my study habits more effective, that I see, successful results.
I have another point here. So, what are we willing to give up for our goals? What are we willing to sacrifice? Because the scenario presented just now is one where we say we're studying, but we're studying with the music. Older teachers will say to you, don't do it that way. Are you willing to sacrifice your pride to prove to the older teacher that it can work my way? Or are you willing to submit and say, let me give this an honest, Michelle spoke about honesty, an honest try? Because sometimes we do things, but we're just doing it to prove that it don't work, to support our underlying position that we came in with. So see it? I tried it.
And it didn't work.
But it never worked.
So it was a biased trial.
It was set up to fail.
Set up to fail. As you mentioned that in our open discussion here, it is that I don't know, and I know I am from way in another dispensation, that at some point in time, I used to hear from my teachers that you cannot do two things at the same time and one does not suffer. And I noticed that there are a lot of young people who believe that they can be listening to music and they can study and none of them suffer. I am not a scientist, but I still would like to challenge that. And you're talking about timing also. Recently, I had to do with a teenager who had just finished exam. Her exam was an hour and a half. And she finished the exam. She didn't have anything else. And I said, so how much time you're taking as a break to refresh yourself and what you're doing to refresh yourself? To use her word, she said she does her meds. I said, what do you mean by meds? She said she does her meds with some music. So what the meds mean, she meditating. You understand? With the thing in her ear. Good. Then I went back to check on her to see how she was doing. And then she says, Missy, you're still meds? You're still meds according to you? And she said to me, she has meds and she has study. So, good. Your brain is an active part of your body that is interpreting what you do. How do you get in your brain that this time it was meds in just to break, but this time it meds in to study? Do you understand what I'm saying? There are some skills that I believe still are good if you shouldn't study in your bed. That's a place to sleep. So if you continue to study in your bed, your body misinterprets the reason that you're in your bed. You're going to fall asleep. Study somewhere that when you get there, your body says, this is here for work, for study. So in other words, this goal setting and these action plans that you have to take are also very basic things. Where you study, how you study, you understand? In other words, is it associated with learning or is it associated with recreation? You know, because that is going to influence the outcome. And how many times do I need to go over the same thing? Because the more you go over it, the more the marks are in your brain. You know, saying that, 2 times 2 equal 4. 2 times 2 equal 4. You hear it so many days per week. So at some point in time, you don't even recognize that it was a thought process that make you say 2. So you have to look at yourself. There has got to be an openness and honesty about myself. Some people have photographic memory. You see it, and they can visualize it on the page, and they can visualize the words that are used, and stuff like that. Some people have to burn the midnight oil. Be honest with yourself. Who am I? What is going to get me there? You know? And so it requires honesty, Michelle. Honesty. Not go about it the same. And you failed last year. Don't bother get up and say, boy, I'm going to try again this year. But you did the same old thing. Honesty that you need help, you need suggestions, and you're willing to try to see if it works.
As it relates to honesty as well, I find that when we set goals, remember, individually we have different goals. And sometimes when we set our goals and sometimes things are going according to plan, but we are doing this comparison with others and we're watching the pace at which they're moving and we are comparing ourselves to them. Your goal, your plan is different from everybody else. And if you have that plan in place and you realize, and you have been tracking and you realize that things in place, it's okay to be where you are because you are actually achieving your goal. So the whole comparing, because I was listening to a testimony some time ago at church, and this young lady was sharing her testimony about her CXC result and the fact that she did well. But she was there badgering herself because when she looked at her classmates, they all probably got ones in all of the subjects. Did she do bad? No. It could be that she was expecting a higher grade for some of the courses. Mm-hmm. But if you set your goal and things are in line and you are achieving your goal based on what you set, it's okay to be okay with where you are once you're achieving the goal. So goals are different, achievements. People achieve at different pace and at different times in their life. So the comparison sometimes is what affects our confidence moving forward with that success.
And I want you to say ability too. We all have different, that's why we have geniuses. Mm-hmm. And
right.
That's why we have some
that
people that are
honesty
specially gifted in particular areas. And nothing is wrong if your best is mediocre. Mm-hmm. What is wrong is if you are operating mediocre in any area of your life when you could be doing above average. Mm-hmm. That is what is wrong. Mm-hmm. But that's why that we did a whole bit on self-esteem, knowing yourself, accepting who you are, what you are. And there are people who, when you get a C, it is you are happy. Mm-hmm. You are happy and you're proud of yourself.
You gave it your all.
You gave it your all. That is it. And there are people who will get a B, and I mean, it is a disgraceful performance because you have the ability to do much better. So in other words, it's about this honesty and recognizing who you are. Don't believe that everybody has to be an A student. It means best, doing the best that you can.
As Hope spoke about, individuals' goals and setting, achieving your personal goals and don't watch anybody. I'm taken back to, I'm not quite sure which are the sprinters. And they would say, they're competing in this race against whomever. And they had to stick to their coach's plan for the race. Yeah. They can't, so somebody was ahead of them, but they can't run that person's race unless they're going to deviate from their coach's game plan for them. So they had to stick with their plan. And at the end, they were victorious. They won the race because they stuck with their plan and not work and look at somebody else's plan and run their race, right? So sometimes when, as Hope says, when we have a plan, stick with our plan, other than when we're going to revise and evaluate and stuff. But don't bother, right?
Based on what you want
but don't bother go and look at somebody else's game plan and try to, run your race based on that.
As you mentioned that, and I think some of our young people can relate to that. After all these big matches, you know that they are videotaped and they sit down, and it is like a real intensive study to look at what they do, how they do, where are the weak areas, and then a game plan is formulated. So you have to understand, and that's where they make changes also in where players are put on the field. Because you see, who would particularly deal with this particular weakness there? So you have to look at yourself in that way. Where am I going to fit in? How am I going to fit in? I need to look at. And there's nothing wrong. Hope is an A student. Okay? I can talk with Hope and I said, how do you do something? You can listen. You may change, or you may be influenced by something she says, you want to try it. But that doesn't mean to say that you're going to become Hope. You're going to make this thing fit into you. Yes. And I want us to keep remembering that a plan has to do with every aspect of your life.
Right.
In every aspect of your life. Sometimes we're saying academics a lot, but it is not just academics, every aspect of your life. Right. And I remember at the beginning we talk about when you're going to buy a car, when you're going to buy this and so on. I wish that our young people would understand that prioritizing things is important. And as you make your plan, you should also write down your goals and objectives in order of priority. So you know what is most important, what is least important, and
Can be done later.
what can
As
be done
opposed to
later.
now.
Yes.